Let's face it, if you're an unfaithful spouse, there is a stigma attached to you. And the struggle that many unfaithfuls have is that when it all comes out, when everything is finally out in the open, we are shell-shocked. And there's a topic that's not really discussed very often, and that is how we, the unfaithful, feel completely devastated, overwhelmed, clueless, shaken to the core that our choices have come out. There's not a lot of info out there for the unfaithful who are trying to understand, what do I do now? Like, I am considered a worthless piece of crap by everybody that knows about my choices. Everyone hates me early on, and that's not an attack on you, the betrayed. It's just how we feel. Everybody despises me. Everybody hates me. I don't know where I can turn. I should hate myself. I should despise what I've done and who I am. And for us, we don't really talk about it because inevitably we find the wrong person, and that wrong person says, well, you should be angry. You should hate yourself. What a piece of crap you are. Look at all that you've done. Look at the devastation. Or maybe we try and share that information with our betrayed and they elicit the same response, and there's no blaming of them for that. I mean, why wouldn't they? They're devastated. But we find ourselves saying, where do we turn? What do we do? I don't know what my next move is. Some of you may say, really? The unfaithful's devastated? Really? You're hurt and torn up? Really? You are feeling pain? Well, today's video, as you've probably assessed from my introduction, is primarily for the unfaithful spouse, but I think it would be good for you, the betrayed, to understand how some of us, certainly not all, but some of us unfaithful, process through our pain and hurt and agony so that you can use this to maybe help your unfaithful spouse who's trying to navigate through this dead sea of just chaos and uncertainty. And I know some of you betrayeds have unfaithfuls who are not kind of operating this way. They're angry, they're defensive, they're hostile, things like that. And we're not going to get into those things today. If you're in the public eye and your affair comes out, things are even more complex because now you're dealing with a barrage of assaults and angry people and people harassing you online or maybe in person if they know where you live, things like that. There's confrontations. There's all these types of things that go on that only kind of exacerbate the entire process. But if you're not in the public eye, you're still walking through enormous chaos and confusion that leads into despair, and it really kind of swallows you up. And this is not a feel sorry for the unfaithful video, but this is a video to help you unfaithful really understand what can you do. Because when everybody left me, I felt incredibly abandoned. I was hated by people. People were lashing out at me, driving by my house, yelling and screaming obscenities and all types of things. My kids were very young, so thank God they didn't have to get caught up in all of that. But we really struggle. What do? We feel incredible amounts of sorrow and pain and sure self-pity and all of that stuff, but we feel so alone and we don't know where to turn. We don't know what to do. There's not a lot of roadmaps out there to follow. And everywhere we try and kind of share our heart with, or every person that we try and be vulnerable with, has a way of kind of cutting at us and trying to slap us around and wake us up. When for those of us that are genuinely lost and looking for answers, we typically find answers that are not very helpful and are rooted in condemnation and anger and shame and really do us no good. So today I want to give you some things that you can do as an unfaithful. And if you're a betrayed, you can maybe try and help support these things in the life of the unfaithful. But if you're an unfaithful trying to gain momentum, listen, I get it. I don't know that you'll find a safer place to kind of identify with who is never going to kind of lash out at you. I'm going to give you some cold hard truth today, but I want to tell you what saved my life, what really helped me in my own healing find momentum and safety and clarity. Number one, if you're an unfaithful, nobody really knows how to handle you except experts. So if you find the right people, you'll find the right process and you'll get into the right program and you'll start to really gain some momentum. But don't be alarmed when everybody that you talk to seemingly kind of judges you or shames you or looks at you funny or really is still angry at you, because they don't really know how to handle you. People that have been through it before and who are experts know how to handle you and know how to care for you. So kind of get used to being mishandled. That's why you don't need to tell everybody that you talk to that you've been unfaithful. That's actually not helpful. Sometimes we think that that's helpful because we're just going to spill all the beans and let everybody know. Sometimes we're doing it because we want people to be compassionate and feel sorry for us. Sometimes we're doing it because we feel like self-deprecating behavior kind of levels the playing field. And it's probably not time for that right now. It's probably time for you to search out safe people where you can open up, be vulnerable with, and trust them with your pain. And that's probably going to be very few people right now. And that's normal. That's okay. You're not a leper. That's just the way it is. Number two, and I don't know if this is your experience, but for me, I went from overnight being surrounded by a pretty large staff, a sea of people, I'm talking thousands of people, in a pretty high profile position, to overnight isolation, complete abandonment, and then the fallout started to happen. And it was the loneliest time of my life. I grew up in the inner city. I was always alone. I started to develop some friends, but I was an only child with a single mom, and that was tough. But it was nothing compared to the loneliness and isolation that I had to get used to. And I just want to tell you, at some level, you just have to deal with it. You're going to be lonely. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel like you've been airlifted to the back of a desert where there's not a sign of life and no water. And you're going to have to be okay with that. You cannot allow yourself to say, oh, I just feel so sorry for myself and look at how all these people are treating me. As long as you focus on that, you're going to be focusing on yourself rather than on your victim, which is your spouse or your partner, and maybe other people that are caught in the crosshairs, like family members and kids and things along those lines. It's normal and necessary for you to be somewhat alone. And that's not a badge. I'm going to do this alone. I don't need anybody. No, I'm not talking about feeling sorry for yourself and bludgeoning yourself. That does not help you. That is not a badge of healing. That's a badge of ignorance, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to be ignorant. But it is necessary for a season of loneliness. It's time that you get reintroduced to who you are and who you are not. It's time to reacquaint yourself with who you really want to be and who you need to be, and I'll talk more about that later. This loneliness is vital for you to have some sense of solitude. It doesn't mean that you have to separate. It doesn't mean that you have to leave your partner for some significant period of time, although in some cases maybe that is necessary. But listen, it's vital for you to feel a sense of, man, I feel so alone. For a short time, it's okay. For a short time, that's normal. But how you handle that loneliness is absolutely vital. Number three, it's absolutely essential that if you still are feeling alone, and maybe some of you aren't, but you seek out the right community with the right people. I can't say enough about a course that's on our website called Hope for Healing. It actually is going to open back up March 25th. And it is the perfect opportunity for you as an unfaithful, male or female, to find support, to find community. People message me all the time and say, how do I find people who will support me? How do I find accountability? How do I find people of the same sex that will kind of walk me down this road to recovery? And how do I find a mentor or a coach? Listen, Hope for Healing is the best way possible for men and for women. There is a mentor that's in the group that will be able to support you, keep you on task, and there's going to be at least 4 to 5 other men if you're with men, and women if you're with women, that are going to be wonderful supports to you, accountability. They're going to just kind of stand by your side. How would they shame you and judge you for exhibiting the same behavior that they themselves have exhibited? They're going to be the safest people for you, besides maybe your spouse, besides maybe your professional therapist or coach or what have you. Opens March 25th. You can drop a note here on YouTube or Twitter or what have you to me personally, and I'll get you a link to the course. I'm happy to provide that for you and make it easy for you. This isn't a sales pitch. This is a pitch to help you get help, to find people who will support you and not have to do your repair work alone. Next, and this is number 4, I would invite you to refuse and put off self-pity, but embrace and buy into grieving. Now, grieving is experiencing sorrow. It's experiencing loss, because if you're an unfaithful, you've lost a lot of things, and you may not even be completely in touch with all that you have lost. But loss is a part of sobering up. The difference between grieving your losses and grieving for what you've done to your spouse, your children, your job, your finances, your life, your safety, and self-pity is self-pity in many ways focuses completely on what you have lost and feeling sorry for yourself and making you the object of your sorrow and your alleged grief, but really it's more focusing on your own self-absorption and feeling sorry for what you've done to yourself and hoping that other people will feel sorry for you as well. Grieving is experiencing a sense of sorrow, a sense of pain, loss. If you come from faith, conviction and a heavy guilt. Guilt doesn't come from faith, but conviction does. Guilt is just a normal part of the process of feeling guilty for what you've done, and you need to embrace that guilt. You need to embrace that sense of sorrow for what you've done. And see, when you're grieving, yes, you're mourning, you're embracing the emotions associated with the consequences of your behavior that you might eventually move towards number 5, which is to make amends when it's safe, when it's applicable. I would advise you, and I'll say this immediately as we launch out into number 5, it is probably not safe for you to make amends with your affair partner right now. It is far safer for you to make amends with your spouse if they will let you. As I started to get healthy, as I started to do repair work, nothing was more important than making amends with Samantha and really trying to reestablish safety and trust and compassion and love. Some people were saying, you should make amends with the affair partner as well. Absolutely not. It probably will take several years for your spouse to even be open to that idea. For some superheroes, they may be open to the idea in a couple of years. I want to be either the first person or maybe just another person in the chain of people to speak into your situation and say, it's okay to not make amends with the affair partner. Because if you want to try and save your marriage or your relationship, that relationship must take priority over any and all relationships in your entire life. Should you choose to make amends years, decades down the road? I don't know. You can consider that. That's for another time. I have not reached out to make amends with my affair partner. People said to me, you should make amends with your affair partner's father because you knew him and you had a relationship with him. I have not done that. Should an opportunity arise for me to make amends with my affair partner's father, I would ask Samantha what she thought about it. Because see, making amends requires safety. If Samantha is not safe with me making amends with anybody, I'm not going to do it. And so I need you to know, I went on a tour to make amends with lots of people that were caught in the crosshairs of my situation. But every single person that I desired to meet with, I asked Samantha, hey, are you okay with me meeting with X or Y or Z? And she stamped her seal of approval on every one of them because they were safe. See, making amends has to be rooted in safety for the betrayed first, and then also for you. It's not going to be smart to make amends with your affair partner or maybe affair partners because it may cause you to relapse. I would suggest that you put years of time in your repair work and your recovery work before you even give an idea to that possibility. Finally, despite the sadness and the overwhelming grief, this is a key moment for you to begin to confront yourself in a loving, compassionate way. This is a time for you to reevaluate who you have allowed yourself to become and start to identify, who do you want to be? How do you want to be moving forward? As a father, as a mom, as a spouse, what kind of person do you want to be? Are you willing to confront the character flaws that allowed this behavior? Are you willing to face the music and get healthy? Are you willing to stop playing games and actually get serious? Are you willing to confront the skeletons in your closet? Are you willing to confront the trauma that nobody really knows about? This is the time to do it. Because if you'll decide to confront these things, it'll change your life. You'll create a pathway to healing that you can't even imagine right now. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I can't even describe to you how humbled I am at the healing that has happened in my life, at the joy of my life right now, and at the person that I'm still a work in progress, but compared to who I was, even Samantha will tell you that there's been a dramatic change. I've nowhere near arrived, but I'm a whole lot better than I used to be. I'm a whole lot healthier than I used to be. And I'm actually comfortable with who I am. I'm not embarrassed of who I am. I'm embarrassed of what I did 15 years ago. And I hope that you can find new life. I hope these things will help you in your journey back from devastation.